Eating, I told my wife, she's like, you can do this by yourself. You're going to go out there and, don't spend a lot of money, So I was like super, super spare.
Okay.
There's a little variety store next to the place where I stayed. I would go in there and occasionally, I had one night I had goat cheese and Triscuits.
Okay.
One night I had a Stouffer's
French bread pizza.
I did.
Nice.
There was a little oven in the hotel that I stayed.
Okay.
Stuff like that. Super, super basic. Nothing
Wow.
extravagant. That's all.
Any good snacks that ended up being anything good?
Not really.
Okay.
No, chips and salsa. Oh, coconut cookies.
Oh.
Yeah.
From Trader Joe's?
No, from the little store that I stayed at.
Oh, okay.
All right. Oh,
Great.
We're out the door here. What the heck? I'm sorry.
All right, no problem.
Tom Soroka's with us in a few minutes. Here I am pushing you aside, and we're going to talk about Christians and the Queen's funeral.
101.5 WORD.
Propaganda, lawlessness, violence. Seems to me there's big trouble ahead.
That's Alan Jackson with a warning. You could have access to all of Alan Jackson's messages by winning an Apple iPad Air, plus hard copies of his books. To enter, log on to our station website, keyword trouble. When you log on, you'll receive a free download of a chapter from his new book, Big Trouble Ahead.
Register now at wordfm.com/trouble.
When it comes to higher education, it's worth considering a Christian university or college, one that reaffirms students' faith instead of tearing it down. Research shows that students who attend a Christian college can become significantly more committed to their faith, and that's an important investment to make. You care about the type of people who are teaching the classes and about the content of the courses just as much as you do about the strength of the academics. It matters that Christian faith is supported and shared. Find out about many schools at once by attending the free Christian College Fair with representatives of colleges and universities from across North America. Start planning now. Take advantage of the opportunity to meet with representatives from top Christian colleges throughout the country. Learn about financial aid, scholarship opportunities, and more. Take your first step to a Christian college education at Orchard Hill Church in Wexford, Saturday, September 24th from 11 to 1. That's the Pittsburgh Christian College Fair, Saturday, September 24th at Orchard Hill Church in Wexford from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. More at findyourchristiancollege.com.
Being a believer in Christ means a lifelong pursuit of getting to know God better. The devotional book titled God Is examines 26 attributes of God, one short chapter at a time. As you request a copy of the book from Truth for Life today, you'll learn about God's patience, His holiness, His faithfulness, just to name a few. And you'll learn how these characteristics were perfectly displayed in the Lord Jesus. Visit truthforlife.org/donate.
This is Pastor Tom Hall. People are capable of such goodness. So why are we at war with each other? It turns out the Christian faith is completely realistic about human nature. Faith gives us the tools to examine ourselves and imagine a better future. Join us for worship at First Presbyterian Church of Pittsburgh, 326th Avenue, downtown, Sundays at 10:45 for our sermon series, What's Wrong with Us? Learn more at fpcp.org.
Are you ready to deepen your faith on a spectacular 9-day Mediterranean cruise? Join Alistair Begg in August 2023 to renew your vision, purpose, and connection with Christ as Alistair powerfully unpacks God's Word. Explore the biblical landscapes Paul encountered as he shared the gospel along breathtaking cliffside villages. Simply call 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com for all the details.
So, of course, while I was away, I missed a lot of the imagery, the mourning, the celebration of Queen Elizabeth's life. Although you and I were fortunate, we were able to catch it, the video feed, the television feed yesterday. It was fantastic, wasn't it?
It really was. I mean, I couldn't get over how, I kind of turned it on thinking, well, this is something I should see. And then once I started watching, it was just gripping.
We were at church. We were going to church in a big, big way.
Yeah.
Well, I know people have said this a lot. We'll not see the likes of this again. Mm-hmm. But to see a celebration of the Queen's life, and the centerpiece is her relationship with Jesus.
I couldn't believe it.
That was astounding.
I know. It was so un-American.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't say it's not un-American, but it's just I can't imagine any leader in America being
so bold.
Exactly. Or, dying and having that type of statement at their funeral.
Right. I mean, in song, in psalm, in prayer,
in preaching,
Jesus' name was proclaimed.
Yeah.
Which was absolutely fabulous.
It really was.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Now, the thing that you missed, well, you missed several things, but when they put her casket on the gun cart, is that what it was?
Well, it was made specifically.
Is what they called.
Yeah, specifically for her father, right?
No, well, it was Queen Victoria's.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was like
it was like a gun carriage. Yeah, like a cannon.
But wasn't the flag beautiful?
Oh my gosh, the Royal Standard.
Yeah.
So after her body came back to London from Scotland, then it processed down. It did the opposite trip it did yesterday.
Okay.
So, but it was pulled by horses that time. And, it was absolutely fascinating for someone who loves animals and is attuned to animals. That was something that she specifically wanted. She said she really, really wanted horses to be a part of her funeral in that way.
Cool.
But they said it was really hard to find and train horses for that task, to be able to walk that slowly for 40 minutes.
That was a long time.
It was a long, long time, but that was also really beautiful.
Wonderful. And then, of course, I saw the long march forward was like 1.25 miles from the gate of Windsor Castle up to the entrance. And that was unbelievable, because it was the sounds of the music and then the gunshots. It was so magisterial. It befit a queen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Father Tom Soroka is with us. Tom's a regular guest on our show, here today to talk to us about what Christians can learn from the death of Queen Elizabeth. And Tom, welcome back.
Hi, guys. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Tom.
So, Tom, John and I were just talking as we were getting your connection set up on Zoom about yesterday, about the just the beautiful nature of all of the events that unfolded in remembering Queen Elizabeth yesterday, and how profoundly Christian it was. I have to say how shocked I was watching it.
Yeah, I think that it probably came as a surprise to a lot of people. However, it really shouldn't. I think maybe it's a sign that we have lost this sense of beauty and this sense of majesty, not majesty in the sense of when we address a queen or a king by calling them Your Majesty, but really the king or the queen is meant to reflect the majesty of God. And I think it's something we as Americans miss. We, of course, are known as the country that sought her independence from the crown, right? But I think what's really interesting to me as a Christian, and I hope it is to everyone, that there is a kind of tension there. We are actually, as Christians, members of a kingdom. We are living under the authority of a king, and that is Jesus Christ. And this king is the leader of a kingdom, and we are his subjects. And so for us to understand what that actually means, what does it mean to be a member of a kingdom? Because I think that we can learn a lot from this particular, from her life, from her funeral, about our own Christian faith.
Yes. And Tom, I'm glad to have this conversation with you because, of course, no life is without sin. No one is without stain who walks the earth. And of course, you may have been involved, the local brouhaha here on Twitter from the professor at Carnegie Mellon University who, as the Queen was dying, said that she would wish the Queen would die an excruciating death. Now, that's been covered by local media. It's been all over, up and down the metaverse. And so
on the front page of newspapers in London.
Right. So you see a person's life, and it is right to hold someone's life up. And of course, as the Queen was a believer of Jesus, she herself, I'm sure, was well aware of her own sins and her own shortcomings. But to draw the parallel between a person's sinfulness and the kingdom of God in our own lives, and how we somehow, because we are, of course, anti-crown in many ways. We are not of the crown. We are divorced from the crown. But those parallels work in our lives if we would only sort of see the majesty that we are surrounded by.
Yeah, I don't have really much to say on the tension between a kind of ideology where we view everything through the lens of social justice. I'm certainly not against social justice. On the other hand, I think that we have to be able to view someone's life, and especially her life, through the lens of what role she played. And she was the leader, even though it was a kind of constitutional monarchy, right? Yeah. She's not an absolute monarch in that sense. And there is a kind of colonial history to the United Kingdom that we can argue about. But if we step back and we look at, for instance, let's talk about her Christian faith in a moment, but let's just talk about what monarchy is. Monarchy, of course, is in decline. It used to be maybe 100 years ago that there were many, many more countries that were under monarchs than are today. I'm not even sure. I think there's like 5 kingdoms or something left in the world. And the United Kingdom is one of them. But I do think that in a Christian sense and in a biblical sense, the monarchical form of government isn't simply about privilege, and it isn't about being a tourist attraction, as many cynical Brits might think. And I think, unfortunately, that's the way some people in America might look at the idea of monarchy. But as Christians, I don't think that we have that latitude to really look down on monarchies because, as I said, our entire biblical history is based on such a form of government. We only see the idea of monarchy as power, but I think the irony is that this tiny woman, Queen Elizabeth II, exercised her power with great love and devotion to her people, to her land, to God, of course. And I think this is maybe the way that we should see her and the role of a monarch. A monarch is one who embodies all of the best of their homeland. And so she loved the United Kingdom and she loved her people, regardless of the political issues that went on. And by the way, there were countries that they lost during her reign. So it wasn't like they were on a warring footing all the time. But I think that monarchs really, in the best light, they're not perfect. Neither are, by the way, United States presidents perfect. But monarchs love their country, and they are seen as ones who are blessed or given by God to lead their country in absolute love and dedication.
Father Tom Soroka with us from St. Nicholas Orthodox Church in McKees Rocks. If you're watching us on Zoom, and you can, of course, if you log on to YouTube, at the word Pittsburgh, you can see Tom sitting in front of a photograph of his beautiful church in McKees Rocks. Tom, what parts of yesterday's service or yesterday's goings-on stuck with you?
Well, certainly the beauty of it, and I think that's the part of, her Christian faith that is so memorable. There is no doubt about it, she had a deep, abiding faith in Christ. As her official role, she was the head of the Church of England and the Church of Scotland, as King Charles is now. But again, as a monarch, she's seen as the protectress of the Christian faith in those countries. She had a deep personal faith in Christ. For instance, at her coronation, she said, "Pray for me that God may give me wisdom and strength to carry out the solemn promises I am making to you, and that I may faithfully serve him and you," she said to her subjects, "all the days of my life." And then she said in December of 2000, "For me, the teachings of Christ and my own personal accountability before God provide a framework in which I try to lead my life." This was not a woman who was in it for the glory and the grandeur of living in a palace. She saw her duty as queen to be fully devoted to God and Christ, and to be fully devoted to the people of her country. We only see the riches and the wealth, which are a tremendous temptation. The Bible talks about this very, very clearly. But she never lost her faith in God. And also, I kind of want to say, maybe from the standpoint of the funeral, her whole family was there. She was a daughter. She was a wife. She was a mother, she was a grandmother, and she carried out those duties as daughter, wife, mother, and grandmother with great poise. And by the way, her family was no easy task, right? There's a lot of problems. Most recently, Prince Andrew really got into a huge scandal there. She handled that perfectly and beautifully without missing a beat. Unfortunately, she was very well attuned to dealing with family problems, but she did it with great love and great poise. She loved her country. That was another thing that came out in the funeral. Her country, by the way, when she became 18 years old, she wasn't queen yet. She was still a princess. The day she turned 18, she enlisted in the army because they were in the middle of World War II. She became a mechanic, and it wasn't like a pretend mechanic. She knew how to take apart an engine and fix an engine, and she gloried in getting her fingers dirty and her hands dirty. And to really the end of her days, she never let people, when she was out in the country, she never let a chauffeur drive her around. She wanted to drive herself. There are famous pictures of her driving her Jeep around. She loved to do that. So she was a kind of rare, gritty person who had the most exalted position, but really she was a devoted Christian and a devoted human being in every single way. And that service, by the way, the beauty of it is that it got, I would say, I would love to see the statistics of who was watching that. I'm sure it was 1 billion people, but that was a magnificent evangelistic opportunity to the glory of God, to her devotion in Christ. And that's worth all the, her whole life, that was worth it just to have that testimony to the gospel of Christ.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we were talking before you came on, and Kath said, you wouldn't see that service in America. Despite,
I don't think you would.
Right. We would say that we are a Christian country, but that outward extension of faith,
and I think see that.
The humility to me is at the core of it all, because here is a woman, the great power that she would control. Instead, she gave it over to Christ Jesus first, and everything stemmed from that.
Yeah, but then and we all saw that yesterday, the history of colonialism is really complicated. And
sure.
I want to bring this up to you, Tom, only because I know you're used to dealing with people who come from countries where there's been a lot of suffering, where they've been the victims of an autocratic ruler. They've suffered injustice after injustice after injustice. And so when you honor a ruler like this, people have really complicated memories. So with only a minute left, it's really unfair to make you talk about that in a minute. But just your reaction to that?
Well, let's go back to Acts chapter 3, right? I mean, the church suffered under terrible rulers, but they still prayed for them. St. Paul in Romans 15 makes this very, very clear that the rulers are given to us by God, whether we like it or not. And, contrary to popular belief, God has a wonderful plan for our life, but sometimes it includes suffering under a tyrant and being a Christian witness as a martyr to his glorious name. And so, people may suffer under terrible rulers, but I think ultimately we have to give glory to God in all circumstances, no matter who the ruler is, and no matter how difficult it is, God will be glorified.
Amen and amen. Father Tom Soroka, St. Nicholas Orthodox Church in McKees Rocks. Tom, in a few seconds before you leave us, talk to us about St. Nicholas.
Oh, we'd love to have you visit St. Nicholas Orthodox Church in McKees Rocks, right across the McKees Rocks Bridge, orthodoxpittsburgh.org. We have Divine Liturgy every Sunday at 10 a.m. All kinds of services. Check out our calendar on our website. We would love to meet you.
Fabulous. Tom, always a great pleasure. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
And you as well. We'll take a quick break. We're just getting underway. It's the ride home. Back together again.
This is Kathy Emmons. John and I are grateful for the encouragement we have from all of our advertisers, and especially our friends at Grove City College. Thanks to everyone at Grove City for supporting the ride home.
Wouldn't it be great to work in a place that makes a positive impact on the people, businesses, and churches around you? That place exists. I know because I work there. My name is Cassie, and I'm the digital marketing specialist with Salem Media Group in Pittsburgh. Right now, 101.5 Word FM and Salem Surround have an opening for one talented salesperson to join our team. Is that you? We'll bring the training. You just bring the talent. An understanding of digital marketing and some direct sales experience will definitely help you stand out. What are you waiting for? Take the first step to a career that is challenging, rewarding, and helps to create terrific results for our amazing customers. Join the sales team at Salem Media Group Pittsburgh. Email your resume to brad.marshall@salempittsburgh.com. That's brad.marshall@salempittsburgh.com. Salem Media Group is an equal opportunity employer.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
101.5 WORD-FM Pittsburgh. On your smart speaker by saying, play the word Pittsburgh. And on your phone via the Word FM mobile app, iHeart, TuneIn, and Odyssey.
An important message from Medicare. Between your doctor visits, taking the right medications at the right times, and following advice from different doctors, managing 2 or more chronic conditions like high blood pressure, arthritis, or diabetes can be overwhelming. But it doesn't have to be. Chronic Care Management Services can help you get the connected care you need by connecting the dots between your medical appointments, pharmacy, and hospital visits. Your doctor will work with you to create a care plan and check in with you between visits, keeping you on track and helping you with your health goals so you can spend more time doing what you love. If you have Medicare, ask your doctor about Chronic Care Management Services and get the connected care you need. For more information, visit Medicare.gov and search for Chronic Care Management. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Timeless wisdom, encouraging proverbs, and powerful promises. At BibleStudyTools.com, we aim to provide the best free resources for knowing the Word of God and applying its powerful truths to your life. Use BibleStudyTools.com's daily Bible verse for inspiration as you start each day. Find powerful verses on more than 300 topics that relate to your life's challenges and needs. Verses to encourage your soul, lift your spirit, and strengthen your faith. Visit BibleStudyTools.com. That's BibleStudyTools.com.
Increasing cloudiness tonight. We'll see a shower in spots towards dawn. We'll reach a nighttime low of 59. Humid tomorrow with variable cloudiness. Expect a morning shower in spots, then a heavy thunderstorm late in the afternoon, high 83. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night. A heavy thunderstorm around in the evening, followed by a couple of showers late. The low 61. A passing shower Thursday morning, otherwise breezy and cooler with partly sunny skies. The high only 65. I'm AccuWeather's Drew Shannon.
Hearty congratulations to the Polish restaurant in Bloomfield, which I don't really think of as Bloomfield. I think of it as it's on Penn Avenue. I think of it as more like Garfield into Lawrenceville type of thing. But anyway, Apteka has made the top 50 restaurants that the New York Times is excited about.
That's wild. Okay, so it's a vegan Polish restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought?
And I've never been there, and I feel like
This is right up your alley.
I feel like I've let my countrymen down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for goodness sake.
Pierogies are on the menu, right?
Yeah. If they're not, it's not a very good Polish restaurant.
Polish restaurant.
The restaurant has served a fully vegan menu since 2016. Co-chefs, co-owners, and life partners Kate Lasky and Tomasz Skoronsky, this is according to the New York Times, build depth, texture, and flavor with fermentation, ingenuity, and cultured nut milk as lush as creme fraiche.
What?
Yep, that's what Brett Anderson wrote for the Times.
Mm-hmm.
The produce-driven food is shaped in part by Mr. Skoronsky, a son of Polish immigrants. He grew up visiting relatives with abundant gardens in and around Warsaw. Now, the article went on to say that if you're not a vegan, don't worry, because if you show up and eat there, you will not notice anything missing.
Fabulous. Okay, speaking of pierogies, we offer a hearty congratulations to our own Kenny Woods, who today is celebrating his 42nd wedding anniversary.
Is that
Photograph of him and his lovely wife with a pierogi.
And a Mrs. T. pierogi.
Mm-hmm. I did not know, and I said this, that he went to a Polish Reformed church, but apparently they did.
Is that true?
No, it's not true.
Okay.
Just there's the photograph of the three of them.
I really like seeing Kenny, his sweet wife, and the pierogi. Which pierogi is that Chester?
No, it's Mrs. T's. So I'm not sure what that is.
Well, they're all Mrs. T's.
Oh, right.
All the pierogies at
It's not
PNC
Hannah.
Park.
It must be Chester cheese.
Is it Chester cheese? Cheddar Chester?
No, Chester cheese.
101.5 WORD.
Where things are really cooking, as well as baking, frying, and grilling. Got a favorite recipe you'd like to share?
A longtime favorite family recipe.
It could win you a $1,000 Williams-Sonoma shopping spree. If you love being around a hot stove.
Being in the kitchen, cooking, I really love that.
Enter the Your Favorite Recipe sweepstakes today. Not only could you win lots of new cookware and cutlery, but your recipe could be published. Just go to wordfm.com/yummy. That's wordfm.com/yummy.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
Celebrate fall during Community Market Days at Bednar's Farm and Greenhouse. Every Saturday from 11 to 3, Bednar's has plenty to enjoy, including local goods and vendors, a food truck, live music, wine tastings, cooking and gardening workshops, DIY and kids activities, plus everything you need for your fall gardening and decor, with fresh-cut pumpkins, gourds, corn stalks, mums, and lots more. Community Market Days, every Saturday at Bednar's Farm and Greenhouse in McDonald. Visit bednarsgreenhouse.com.
Bachman's Roofing and Solar
is your local award-winning roofer. Stop waiting. It's time to inspect your roof and protect your home's #1 asset. With no interest and no payment financing for 12 months, Bachman's Roofing is your easy choice for roofing, gutters, and solar. Did you know Bachman's Roofing is one of the #1 GAF solar integrated roofing installers in the USA? Go with Bachman's. Go with solar and install the roof that pays for itself. Call 412-744-8390 or visit bachmansroofing.com.
Train up a child in the way they should go. Well, you know the rest. It's a calling you take very seriously as a Christian parent. And Trinity Christian School in Forest Hills seeks to honor your commitment by working together with parents to prepare students who are academically sound and spiritually ready to take their place in the world through a classical approach to education that helps build a faith from which they will never depart. Trinity Christian School, one of the top K-12 schools in Allegheny County, at trinitychristian.net.
The following interview was originally broadcast at an earlier date.
I don't know about you, but I love a dinner party. Do you not love a dinner party? I mean,
I love a dinner party.
Fabulous.
You and I have been to a lot of dinner parties.
Yes, we have. And you look forward to many things, right? Of course, the food, but then the company is the key.
Mm-hmm.
And if, you've got hours and hours to sort of meander and wander.
Yeah, but it can be,
drink
the night can be too long if you're there with bad guests.
Well, that's the art.
But if you're there with good guests, then it's like it goes by in a flash.
Yep. The skill of assembling the dinner party. Alyssa Wilkinson is with us. She's a regular guest on our show.
And she has a skill at assembling a dinner party.
Yes, she does. She's got a brand new book out that we love. It's called Salty, Lessons on Eating, Drinking, and Living from Revolutionary Women. Alyssa is a columnist, a culture and food religion reporter at Vox.com. She used to write for Christianity Today, but she's with us today to talk about the dinner party. Hey, Alyssa, welcome back.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
We're so excited about this book, Alyssa. I mean, it's super fun. It's super fun. You're a great writer, and you're like the perfect person to kind of introduce me to these women who you've invited to this party. And because I think you're interesting, I'm probably going to think they're interesting. So let's talk about the assembling of them. So in the Brooklyn Museum, you write that's not far from where you live, there's a great, well-known piece of art called The Dinner Party. First on exhibition in 1979. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's it's a piece called The Dinner Party. It's by this artist, Judy Chicago, who you may remember from your art history classes way back in the day. But she created this kind of long, 3 long tables put together into like a triangle, and then there's a place setting for each of them. And they're all kind of, it's 1979, so she's kind of thinking about women who've been left out of history. So this was everyone from Emily Dickinson to Mary Wollstonecraft, to Georgia O'Keeffe and Hildegard of Bingen, the saint. And so the idea is you kind of walk around the table and you see all these names, and maybe some of them are familiar to you and others aren't. But aside from the sort of things she was trying to say at history, it's also just a really good way to catch up on like people you should know about. And that's a little bit of the approach that I took to creating Salty and figuring out who was going to be in it.
Fabulous. So, Alyssa, in your introduction to the book, you write, at first when I started thinking about this book, I wanted to write about how to make a great party. But then I realized something. I was more interested in actually throwing a party, introducing people to women I think of as my friends, even though I've never met any of them. And it's fascinating. I mean, each chapter of the book, you do truly, fully introduce us to 9 interesting women.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was that you would find them as interesting at the end of each chapter as I do. I've talked to a lot of people about the book, of course, in the years that I've been working on it, and nobody has said, oh, I know who all 9 of those women are. And in fact, some of them, I
got to be honest, I think perhaps a majority of them I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, my grandmother just messaged me and said, wow, I never even heard of Ella Baker, but,
Right.
I was growing up in Boston in the time that she was, traveling around talking to people during the civil rights movement. So there's just a lot of really interesting people out there, I think, who we don't hear about because we often hear about the same figures from history over and over again.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that you had a sense of who they were. And then sometimes the best way to meet a person is through sharing a meal with them. So I came at it from the perspective of what they have to say to us about food and drink and hospitality and all of those things.
Interesting. Okay, so you talk initially about a woman who I loved reading about, Edna Lewis, who a black woman who in many ways sort of introduced New York society to Southern food. Now, and you talk about this, you say, at the time, Southern food was, mostly, not to, disparage the Southern lifestyle, but it was poor people food in a way, right? I mean, it was biscuits and gravy or chitlins and things like that. And then so here's Edna Lewis. She comes to New York City, and all these, Southern expats, like someone like Truman Capote, goes, oh my goodness, I've discovered home again.
That's right. Yeah, and she was remarkable for many reasons. When she knew Truman Capote and Tennessee Williams and all of these people, she was the head chef at a restaurant on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And this is while segregation is still official policy in most of the U.S. And so it was very, very unusual. Even, I shouldn't say even in New York, maybe especially in New York, for a black woman to be head chef in a kitchen, and kind of a partner in the business. So yeah, she was doing that, and it was a lot of prejudice against Southerners that was especially evident in the North. This is in the early part of the 20th century, and so for her to bring Southern food in was to introduce something to people who hadn't experienced it, and also to subtly change the way that they thought about Southern people, especially black people from the South. Her life is totally fascinating, and the last restaurant that she cooked at in New York is actually just reopened,
Really?
somewhat near where I live in Brooklyn. Yeah, Gage and Tollner, and it's a famous old restaurant, but it's kind of exciting to see her legacy live on.
What I love about her is that, she was a foodie before there was a foodie thing, right? And so, and the Southern thing now, of course, it's everywhere. It's international.
Right.
But, there she was in her own small kitchen. She sort of, ignited the spark.
Yeah, that's right. And she then went on to write some cookbooks, the most famous of which, and one that I would totally recommend to anyone, is called A Taste of Country Cooking, or The Taste of Country Cooking. I keep making that mistake. And it is the story of her family, but with lots and lots and lots of recipes. And her grandfather was formerly enslaved, and when he became a freedman, he and another freed slave started a town in Virginia where she grew up. And so it's full of remembrances of her life there, and the community there. And it's just like a really incredible read, but also the recipes are totally doable with modern ingredients, which isn't always true of cookbooks from the mid-20th century.
Alyssa Wilkinson is a film, culture, and food writer, currently the senior culture reporter at Vox.com, assistant professor at the King's College, and she has written such a terrific book. And I love the cover. I love the cover. It's called Salty,
Me too.
Lessons on Eating, Drinking, and Living from Revolutionary Women. So if you're just joining us, Alyssa has created, a make-believe dinner party and has invited you, if you choose to read the book, to the table, along with some famous women, including Hannah Arendt, Edna Lewis, Maya Angelou, Laurie Cohen. Some of these names are going to sound familiar. Some probably aren't going to sound familiar. But the idea of it is that food breaks down barriers, right? That's one of the things I took away from it. And so for any of us who've traveled, out of our own area, but especially if you go overseas, one of the ways you really get to know people is to eat with them and to eat what they eat and to eat how they eat. And so talk about that, like how you work that out in your imagination and what you think that adds to your book.
Yeah, I mean, what it really added, I think, is one particular chapter, which is about the writer Elizabeth David, who is a British writer, who is sort of, not unlike Edna Lewis. She's actually kind of responsible for introducing Italian and Mediterranean cooking to England. Before her time, it was very suspect, but she had spent a lot of time there in the Mediterranean, and when she returned to England, she felt kind of desolate. It was, it was right after the war. There was still rationing and austerity, and it was just cold and wet and gross. And she was thinking about her time in Italy and in Egypt and in other places in the Mediterranean. And she started writing about the food of these other cultures, which her own fellow countrymen would have viewed with suspicion, because food from Southern Europe was considered to be, the food of like immigrants and poor people, sort of the same thing. And she really dug into it and said, no, like this is incredible, an incredible way to eat, these incredible fresh ingredients. And now if you're in England, you have no trouble finding like tomatoes and garlic and olive oil, but you absolutely would have at that time. And I think that part of what she just did was sort of extend this hospitality to her readers and to the people who she knew best, which were English people, and say, like, this is worth exploring. It can enrich your life, and learning the way of another culture is a way of, kind of being grateful for the rich variety that's out there. So it's a pretty phenomenal story.
Interesting. So Alyssa, you're like a lot of Christians, and that you grew up in a home. I'm reading about you, and food was not necessarily a foodie thing. It wasn't something holy smokes, I can't believe I'm eating this. Food, and
right.
for a lot of, like, and even to this day, I mean, friends of mine, they look at food as kind of like a utilitarian thing, and they just eat it for sustenance, and there's no, I mean, it's a joy, but you in that household growing up, the way you were raised with your parents, and not disparaging your parents at all, because that's just how it was. But you've taken it to a different level, your relationship with food.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up, and we had some health problems in my family, and my parents just were very focused on making sure that we were fed nutritious food and that we weren't eating junk or anything like that. So that was great. But, when I moved to New York when I was just out of college, and one really nice thing about living in the city, or any city, is that I was surrounded by all kinds of cuisines and all kinds of ways to be inventive and imaginative with food. And that doesn't mean expensive or fancy. It just means knowing the difference between two really good olive oils, and actually tasting the difference and realizing that the place the olives are from changes the taste of the oil. Like, that's incredible. Yeah. And I think for Christians in particular, it should be really exciting, right? Because it shows like the rich variety of creation and the things that God, for whatever reason, just decided to let the world do, even though he didn't need to at all. So I found that to be like a really fun thing to explore. And then, the older I've gotten, I've been traveling. I just got back from a few months in Europe, and it's really wonderful to see the rich variety of things and then bring them home and try to incorporate them into my own life. Fabulous. Whether it's just having an espresso after lunch or something like that, but it's a new way of living and thinking.
Yeah, and so I would imagine, like, my wife's a cook. She's a good cook, and so I'm the benefactor of all that. I mean, I'm the beneficiary of all that, I should say. Yeah. And that, and I'm sure your husband as well. You bring to the table, and he goes, "Holy smokes, this is fabulous."
Yeah, he definitely enjoys it. I do love to cook, so it's always really great when I can find the time and make something really fun. Last summer, when we were home for most of the summer, we subscribed to a CSA for oysters that came down from Maine. Oh. And so every week we would go pick up oysters, and we learned all kinds of things about seafood. It was really lovely.
Wow.
A good time. Yeah. Good memories.
We're talking about the new book called Salty, Lessons on Eating, Drinking, and Living from Revolutionary Women, author Alyssa Wilkinson. Alyssa, tell us about your trip to Europe. Where did you go? What was it like? What did you eat?
Oh, goodness. I started in Cannes, in the south of France for the film festival. And then we went on vacation. We went to Rome, and then we went to Venice. Venice has the most incredible tradition there, which some of your listeners may know about, which is eating cicchetti. So around what we would call happy hour, the cicchetti spots, which are like little snack bars, pop out little cheap glasses of wine, or maybe like a small glass of beer or a spritz, and then also these little, I don't know how to describe them, except there are these slices of bread, and different cicchetti stores come up with their own things to put on top. So you might get like fresh caught fish or prosciutto or some ricotta that they made in-house. Really? And so you go in and you select which slices you want, and then you go outside, and it felt like the whole town was on the water eating them. And then we went up to France, and then we went to Bruges.
Oh, you did?
And we did. So we had waffles and chocolate, and, it was great. And yes, and frites, of course, obviously. We had frites and muffins, and then, and then we came back to Paris for a week before we came home.
Oh, my gosh,
okay,
Alyssa.
So when you were leaving and knowing that you were about to do this, did you just say to your husband, okay, we're just going to eat and we'll worry about the weight gain later?
Oh, yes, that is exactly what we did. We said, people would say, oh, what are you going to do in Venice? And we were like, eat. That's all we're going to do. We spent a lot of time in Paris, so we really like being able to find new places. And we ate, Georgian food, like from the country of Georgia.
Yeah.
We had all kinds of incredible food. And in Rome, you can get great Jewish food.
Mm-hmm.
So we really had a feast, and we were like, we'll worry about it when we get back. And indeed, he started swimming again now that we got back. And
Fabulous.
I have started running again, and feasting is a part of life as much as anything else.
Excellent. Okay, so now that you've written this book, and this is the life you're living. When you go visit your parents, and they're still eating the way that they're eating, do they look at you and they think, "Oh my goodness, I've raised a Mormon. I have no idea who you are"?
No, I love to cook for my family. I actually, on several occasions, have offered to cook Christmas Eve dinner, which is like sort of a tradition in my family to go out. And a couple times I've said, let me cook. And everyone's always a little skeptical, and then they seem to enjoy it afterwards. So I would say my grandfather's the pickiest eater in the family. And even he has kind of come around on trying new things.
Yeah,
so,
good job.
We do what we can.
That is wonderful. Well, speaking of wonderful, this book really is salty. Lessons on eating, drinking, and living from revolutionary women. Alyssa Wilkinson, thanks for being with us. This is really terrific.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's our great pleasure. Listen, follow Alyssa on social media. She's on Twitter often. She's a great follow. And Vox.com.
And go to Venice and Rome, Paris,
and eat
Bruges.
well and do that with good people.
When it comes to higher education, it's worth considering a Christian university or college, one that reaffirms students' faith instead of tearing it down. Research shows that students who attend a Christian college can become significantly more committed to their faith, and that's an important investment to make. You care about the type of people who are teaching the classes and about the content of the courses just as much as you do about the strength of the academics. It matters that Christian faith is supported and shared. Find out about many schools at once by attending the free Christian College Fair with representatives of colleges and universities from across North America. Start planning now. Take advantage of the opportunity to meet with representatives from top Christian colleges throughout the country. Learn about financial aid, scholarship opportunities, and more. Take your first step to a Christian college education at Orchard Hill Church in Wexford, Saturday, September 24th from 11 to 1. That's the Pittsburgh Christian College Fair, Saturday, September 24th at Orchard Hill Church in Wexford from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. More at findyourchristiancollege.com.
Pumpkins, 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 and more pumpkins. Pumpkins are what the Springhouse is thinking about this time of year. Hi, it's me, Marcia from the Springhouse, and we love sharing our farm with you during this beautiful time of year. We've got all kinds of fun planned for you and your family to be able to spend the whole day on our farm. Pumpkin patch hay rides, a petting zoo, giant square bale stack and pipes for sliding, a hay maze and a corn maze, pumpkin picking right out of the field, old-time games under a tent up on the hill, and lots more. And when you get hungry, of course, we have great eats inside too, with lots of pumpkin creations. Pumpkin pie, pumpkin cookies, pumpkin bread, pumpkin custard, and even pumpkin black bean chili. Every October Saturday features a family-friendly meal, and October Sundays feature our 4-H hog roast with all the fixins. Plan to spend a memory-making day on the farm at the Springhouse in 84 PA. 724-228-3339 or springhousemarket.com.
My nephew is obsessed with treasure hunting. We watched that National Treasure movie where the hero solves all the ridiculous puzzles on his way to finding treasure. And ever since, he's been hiding painted rocks in the backyard and making treasure maps. In the movie, the hero has to find a clue inside a glacier, steal the Declaration of Independence, and outsmart the FBI. But for you, you happen to be living in a moment arguably unlike any other, where your home went and grew hidden treasure on its own over the last few years. Home values have gone nuts, leaving most of us with a significant opportunity to do a cash-out refinance and to use that newfound treasure for life. Many use it for credit card or high-interest debt or to just help with a difficult financial time. Many others use it for home projects, vacations, or treasure hunting gear. If you're curious what's hiding in your home,
we are United Faith Mortgage.
United Mortgage Corp, Melville, New York. NMLS number 1330. Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities. Mortgage lender license 22672.
When I was in high school, we would hang out at a local restaurant that I'm not going to name. Not because I don't like it, but just because I don't have their permission to tell the stories.
When you say you hung out,
Well, when
like a
you're
soda fountain?
when you're in high school, it wasn't a soda fountain. It was a restaurant, but it was a place that was open 24 hours.
Oh yeah, sure.
And so we would go there after a dance or after a game, and we'd just sit
Get some
there and
fries.
talk. Right, exactly. Something really disgusting for you.
Cheap.
Exactly.
And then own the booth.
Exactly. But because we were there so late, we ended up seeing how they cleaned up the salad bar, whatever it was. And it wasn't that they cleaned it up badly. It was just how much food was there that was going to go in the garbage.
Every day.
It
in
was
the garbage.
shocking.
Yeah.
It was absolutely shocking. Now, here's the thing. At that point, a salad bar is a different situation because it's been out for a while. So maybe it should become compost at that point.
Wait, there's my macaroni salad. Hold on.
I hate
Hold
macaroni
on.
salads.
I love macaroni salad. Don't throw that away.
Oh my God.
We need the macaroni salad.
Oh, no one. Anyway.
I'd have been there every night.
Anyway, but that was the first time I started thinking about food waste in high school, because part of you just recoils at that.
Did you know for certain it was going to go away?
I didn't know, but I assumed it was going in the dumpster because I didn't know where else it was going. So since then, especially if I'm at a Panera late at night, right? Or I'm somewhere else, you start to see they're going to, gather up all the bread and you think, where's that going?
Right.
Is that going in the garbage? Anyway, there's an article in today's New York Times that is really interesting. It is about that exact thing. What happens to the food that restaurants are getting rid of and people who are stepping into the gap? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Starts with a story about Maricela Godinez. She's the owner of a Mexican restaurant in Austin, Texas. Every day at 2 p.m., she used to fill a 12-gallon bucket plus another half bucket with leftover food from the all-you-can-eat buffet. She said, we threw out so much food. But a few months ago, she signed up to use an app called Too Good to Go. What? And now 10 customers pick up quote-unquote surprise bags of her leftovers for $5.99, and she sends far fewer scraps to the landfill.
Too Good to Go
Too
app.
Good to Go. That's the app.
Really?
Okay. So apparently around the country, there are all sorts of apps that are popping up that are connecting customers to businesses with leftover food.
Interesting.
Okay. And so the concept is obviously simple. You don't want to see all that food thrown away.
Yeah.
And people are suffering with the, inflationary cost of food.
Sure.
So is there something that could meet both needs? And apparently there is, because these apps are taking off.
Oh, I love it.
Similar apps have popped up around the world in the last 5 years. Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Japan. The article talks about what those look like. Flash Food is an organization that launched in Toronto 5 years ago and now works with 1,400 supermarkets in the U.S. and Canada.
Really?
Okay. So when food is nearing its expiration date, rather than throwing it out, they scan products into the Flash Food app and they can sell them for half price. And so you can go on the app and you can kind of browse through the items apparently and purchase them, do whatever. Some stores like Too Good to Go, which is the one I mentioned at the beginning, they like to make it into a game, and so they do surprise bags. So you either pay $4 or you pay $6, and you get a surprise bag. You have no idea what it's going to be. So this one woman, her name's Jennifer, tax analyst in Austin, Texas, said she got a surprise bag. She said it's kind of like adult trick-or-treating. So she got, one time she got 7 soggy tacos and a chicken sandwich that she had to crisp up in her air fryer. One time she got 24 extra large sausages. Another time she got 7 separate orders of cupcakes, cinnamon rolls, cookies, croissants, pie. She got falafel one day. She said, it's actually a total game to me. I can't wait to see what I'm going to get.
Now, of course, always you wonder about the liability issue, right?
All I can say is it seems to be working because it's operating in 15 countries in Europe, and it's already a huge hit.
Nice. Reducing food waste through the app.
Listen on your smart speaker at wordfm.com, the Word FM app, iHeart, TuneIn, and on Odyssey. In your car or at home, too, at 101.5 WORD-FM, Pittsburgh.
Blood never lies.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Herschel Walker continues to gain ground over his Democrat opponent in the race for U.S. Senate seat in Georgia.
A new poll released by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution now has Walker leading his Democrat opponent, incumbent Raphael Warnock, 46 to 44%. A big stride for the former NFL star. The same poll a month ago had Warnock leading by 3 points. The 5-point turnaround comes as GOP campaign officials predicted Walker would turn on the afterburners following the Labor Day holiday. The poll falls within the margin of error. If neither candidate wins 50% of the vote in November, the race will be settled by a runoff election. Bob Agnew reporting.
Hurricane Fiona blasting the Turks and Caicos Islands as a Category 3 storm after devastating Puerto Rico. And on Wall Street, the Dow is down 418 points, the Nasdaq off 131. This is SRN News.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. It's really frustrating to deal with out-of-pocket medical expenses, just watching your hard-earned dollars flying out the window. Well, here's something that can really help, and it's worth taking a minute to look into. Medishare has a new option. It's called Medishare 65 Plus. And Medishare is a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills. It really is a community, too. People encourage and pray for each other. Medishare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. It's a great way to fight inflation, too. You can lock in one low monthly price for up to 10 years, and you can use your Medicare-approved doctor, and you also get telehealth 24/7 service, so you don't have to leave your home for the little stuff. Very worth looking into. And it's so easy to find out why people rave about the customer service at Medishare. They're easy to talk to. Call 833-SHARE-55. That's 833-SHARE-55. 833-SHARE-55.
Research shows listeners prefer a personalized experience. So to help you remember, Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance. They personalize this ad for Amber, who really misses boy bands from the 90s.
Hey girl, I'm the cute one, here to tell you how Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
I'm the heartthrob. The only thing I love more than you is saving. And I'm the other boy in the band everyone forgot about.
Just happy to be here. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. You're not who you were 25 years ago. Your life's more complex. People change, families change, and the law changes. This is Jay Hagerman of Abernathy & Hagerman, and a proper estate plan should keep up with those changes. That's why Abernathy & Hagerman presents free ongoing estate planning workshops with attorney Dan Reimer, someone who's really good at making complex concepts sound so simple, so you can protect what's yours and to ensure that your will is done. The next one's happening soon. For details and to attend, visit a-h.law.
Progressive Snapshot can save you money based on how you drive and how much you drive. So the safer you drive, the more money you could save. Now, if you didn't hear that because you were yelling at another car while driving, let me say it again. You need to calm down. Yelling is just making everyone as stressed out as you are and letting them all know that you definitely aren't trying to save with Progressive Snapshot. And if you did hear it the first time because you weren't yelling at another car, nice work. You'd love Snapshot from Progressive because it rewards safe drivers. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California and North Carolina or from all agents.
What is a warrior? At Portersville Christian School, it's more than a team name. A warrior is taught to serve, to passionately model the love of Christ toward neighbor, community, and world, to learn as they cultivate academic excellence and a lifelong love of learning from kindergarten to senior year, and to lead through Christian character and integrity. Are you a warrior? Discover Portersville Christian School just 15 minutes north of Cranberry, where warriors are made, at ourpcs.org.
Increasing cloudiness tonight. We'll see a shower in spots towards dawn. We'll reach a nighttime low of 59. Humid tomorrow with variable cloudiness. Expect a morning shower in spots, then a heavy thunderstorm late in the afternoon, high 83. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night. A heavy thunderstorm around in the evening, followed by a couple of showers late. The low 61. A passing shower Thursday morning, otherwise breezy and cooler with partly sunny skies. The high only 65. I'm AccuWeather's Drew Shannon.
Portions of the following program have been pre-recorded. Welcome to another edition of The Ride Home with John and Kathy, live from the Salem-Pittsburgh studios. And now here are your hosts, John Hall and Kathy Emmett.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for coming along today. Tuesday edition of the Ride Home.
Welcome back, John.
Thank you. Happy to be back. Yeah.
Good grief. You were gone a long time. We want to welcome you with fanfare.
Thank you. I was gone a long time, wasn't I?
Well, I'm glad that you ended up in a beautiful place. And I talked of you every day because you decided to send me one beach picture just to make me a little sick at heart.
I try not to hurt your feelings, but
you have to be honest about who you are.
I have to share the beauty is what I'm trying to do. That's all, really. I mean, my favorite picture is the beach chair in front of this wide expanse of sky.
I mean, there was nobody there.
There's nobody there. And that's the beauty of going
in
off
September.
season.
Yeah, that's a really great idea.
Really
I've never done that.
Oh, it's excellent.
It's
Prices are good.
such a
The weather's
great
still the
idea.
same. Very, very nice indeed. So
Well,
thank you. Happy to be back,
We're very glad you're back.
Thank you. This time last week, I was on the beach.
That's sad, isn't
Now
it?
I'm here looking at you,
Sure.
which is fine.
That's sad, which is fine.
It's good.
I mean,
That's good.
geez.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we missed the top 4 at 4 because
we
I was new to radio
Yeah,
and
'cause
just
you
trying
have-
to figure things out. So without further ado, Kathy, you always got the updates on news around the world and the
People
country.
who usually listen in the 5 o'clock hour are like, what is this
What is
segment?
this? Okay, so without further ado, please give us the top 4 at 4.
Except it's at 5.
At 5.
It's the top 4 at 5. For Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. Number 1, John. A nighttime bus crash that killed 27 people in southwest China this week has set up a storm of anger online over the harshness of the COVID-19 policies in China. The initial police report did not say who the passengers were and where they were going, but later it was discovered that they were being herded onto the bus to be sent to a quarantine zone. The bus with 47 people on board crashed at 2:40 a.m. on Sunday. City officials announced only many hours later that the passengers were, quote, under medical observation, which confirmed reports that they were being taken to quarantine. There is a ton of public anger in China right now over the draconian COVID-19 policies.
We thought it was bad here.
It is
Forget about it.
super bad there. Officials in that part of China announced that the city would, quote, achieve societal zero COVID by Monday, which means that the virus is just no longer spreading. It's just they've conquered it.
Really?
And so because they need to say they've conquered it by any means necessary.
We're
is
scooping
basically
people up
what's
and throwing them on
happening.
buses.
That's from CBS News. Number 2, a federal judge has set the trial date for the man accused of killing 11 people in 2018 at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Squirrel Hill. The jury selection process will begin April 24th. That happened October 27th of 2018. It is currently 2022, and we are still, and these families are still going through this.
Due process.
It's just
a fair and speedy trial.
the U.S. Attorney's Office is seeking the death penalty despite pleas from some of the victims' families to allow this man to plead guilty in exchange for a sentence of life in prison. The Department of Justice rejected that offer. Number 3. I've got a weird animal story to welcome you back, John.
Thank you.
And it's number 3, not 4.
Very nice.
Researchers have worked out an estimate for the number of ants crawling around on Earth.
Always.
The total is astounding.
Tell me how many.
Are you ready? 20 quadrillion. That's a 2 with 16 zeros. Yes, the combined weight of the ants on Earth is more than all of the wild birds and mammals on the planet.
Who figures this stuff out?
A university in Hong Kong.
20 quadrillion.
Yes. The weight is also equal to about 1/5 the total weight of humans.
What?
That's how many ants there are. They're present in nearly all ecosystems around the planet thanks to their extremely social nature. At the moment, there are more than 15,700 named species and subspecies.
That is cool.
Scientists say that is between 2 and 20 times higher than any previous estimate.
Wow. God is good,
CBS.
isn't he? Fabulous.
That's super weird. And
I love
number
it.
4, an executive of a vegan food products company has been charged with felony battery and making a terroristic threat after a fracas outside a football game in which he's accused of biting a man's nose. And I bring this up only because of the irony of it. It's the Beyond Meat Chief Operating Officer, Doug Ramsey. Beyond Meat, it's what he does all day long, but instead he ended up in a road rage attack outside Saturday's football game.
What?
Yep. Beyond Meat COO bit another man's nose. That is the end of it all. Your top 4 at 5.
Had a little urge for a nose.
Isn't that really?
That's disgusting.
Isn't that wretched?
Wait, so there was somebody cut somebody off. Guys get out of their car.
Yep.
They get into a fight. Then somebody
And
bites somebody's nose.
The Beyond Meat guy went for the guy's nose.
That is not a pretty sight.
Yeah, he did. It was pretty ugly. The cop said when they showed up, it was bad.
Yikes. Well, he probably will not be the CEO long.
Well,
do you think?
I do believe it does win the award for most ironic story.
Yes, it
of the
does.
day.
You ever been bitten? Anybody ever
I've
bite
been
you?
bitten in 2 consecutive Christmas days.
Under the mistletoe.
I was bitten by 2 different dogs, both named Buttons.
What?
Yep.
Consecutive Christmas days, 2 different Buttons show up, and both dogs bite you.
Exactly.
What are the odds?
Terrible. Very low.
What's happened to Buttons?
The one was close to death.
Oh.
And then the second one took his place, had the same name, and just lived for a long time.
Really? So the same family had the same. I see. Why would you name your same dog the same?
I don't know, but they wanted to.
Buttons.
There was another
Buttons,
family I knew who they had golden retrievers, and every time they got a new one, they just named
the same name.
Same name. It seems a little inhumane, doesn't it?
A little bit. It doesn't really require a lot of individuality for the said species of
Have
the dog.
you ever been bitten?
By a dog? Oh yeah. By a guy? Yeah.
You've been bitten by a person? Was it road rage?
No, it was bar rage. And that's a whole other story, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Let's move on from there. What's up next? We got lots going on here on the ride home. Pittsburgh's Christian Talk. It's 101.5 Word FM. We are WORD.
WORD.
I won! Yes!
And we want you to win too. So sign up to receive our contests and sweepstakes update. Each Friday, you can see new opportunities to win. We regularly give out prizes from books, music, and merchandise to household items, even vacation trips or car payments. Stay up on all the fun. Subscribe to our contests and sweepstakes update, mailed each Friday.
Sign up today at wordfm.com/subscribe.
If you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in taxes, please listen to this important message. The IRS is aggressively hiring and quickly ramping up their tax collection team. Act now and protect yourself with a call to Tax Alliance. Don't let the money you owe the IRS keep you up at night and ruin your life. You may be surprised at how much having Tax Alliance on your side can protect you from the IRS collections and help you save thousands on what you owe. Here's what a customer had to say.
Tax Alliance did an amazing job helping me through a quite difficult situation, saving me tens and thousands of dollars that I would have been paying for many years to come.
Tax Alliance is rated A+ with a Better Business Bureau with no consumer complaints. If you owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes, have unfiled returns, or have a payment plan and are still frustrated, call Tax Alliance now for a free consultation. 800-987-1054. 800-987-1054. That's 800-987-1054.
Tax Alliance, your tax resolution solution.
Meet Brad. Brad's hard at work, or at least his website is. Ever since he added live chat with Salem Surround, Brad's customers are getting their questions answered 24/7. Website purchases have gone up 35%, and they're over 3 times more likely to buy from him again. No bots, just real people helping real people. Live chat. One of the easiest, most affordable ways Salem Surround can increase your business while you do other things, or nothing at all. Ask us how at surroundpittsburgh.com.
We were on vacation when my 4-year-old son woke up with a very high fever. We were scared and we had to find an emergency room immediately. In an unfamiliar city in the middle of the night, we had no idea where to go.
1 in 5 children will visit an emergency room this year. But did you know that some ERs are more prepared for pediatric emergencies than others? But there is help. The new Find ER Now app will quickly locate the closest ER and show which are more likely to be prepared for your child.
It was a terrifying night for us, but because we already had the Find ER Now app, my son got the care he needed. Now, no matter where I am, I always feel prepared.
Whether at home or traveling, the Find ER Now app will have your family prepared in an emergency. To learn more or to download the app, text Find ER Now, that's FINDERNOW to 51555, or go to rbabyfoundation.org. That's the letter R, babyfoundation.org.
The following interview was originally broadcast at an earlier date.
Yesterday afternoon, Kath and I played just a little bit of hooky. there was a 12:30 baseball game down at PNC Park. And so we caught the first 6 innings, right?
Yeah, it went really fast. It was nice, unexpected. I thought sometimes you think, oh, we're going to catch 3 innings. You never know how long it's going to be.
The game has increased a little bit, the pace.
Listen, I really enjoyed it. It was such a great game. Sad that we didn't get to see the epic ending.
Right, but we still saw a win.
We loved it.
So on the outfield scoreboard in right field, the Clemente scoreboard, gigantic swath of space.
It is huge. It really is huge.
I would say, was it the 5th inning? We saw a pro-Jesus message, right? What did it say, Kath?
It said Jesus, well, wait, the first one I saw was Jesus forgives errors.
Yeah.
And the second one was Jesus still believes with
2 outs,
in the bottom of the ninth.
Mm-hmm. This is part of something called the He Gets Us campaign. Now, Pittsburgh is going to be impacted by this, and of course, many cities and towns across the country are. A $100 million campaign to help demystify and to depoliticize who Jesus Christ is and was. Jason Vanderground is with us. He is the president of Haven. It's a marketing design company that has really put this in place. And Jason, thanks for coming along today.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah, Jason, this is an incredible campaign. I mean, not only have I seen it all over digital media, but I saw it, at the ballpark, like John said yesterday. Let me first ask you, how did this come about? Who approached you for the project?
Yeah, so we started with a problem statement, and it was how did the world's greatest love story become known as a hate group?
Yeah.
And so, Jesus said people are going to know that you're following me by the way that you love other people. And, then he gave us a model for how we should do that. And, I think sometimes when people look at Christianity, they just see, they believe it's against them.
Yep.
And that it's anti them. It's really not. And so that's what we're trying to do, is just get people's attention. It's amazing how much people see what's happening at the Pirates game. And we've been partnering with 4 Major League Baseball teams. The Pirates are one of them. Cool. And we really appreciate their support. But the White Sox and the Rangers, it's been great. It's been really great to see people reacting. A lot of times they're just surprised. They're like, did I just see a Jesus ad at the ball game? And that's a great place to start a conversation.
Excellent. Demystify and depoliticize Jesus. So, Jace, talk about this. I mean, $100 million is a lot of money for a campaign. I mean, that goes an awful long way. What about the creative process? Who gathers in a room or over Zoom and starts, throwing spitballs against the wall?
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot, but then when you look at, like Amazon is the biggest advertiser in our country. They spend like $7 billion a year, or State Farm $3 billion, or Geico is too. So there's hundreds of billions of dollars spent on advertising, and so it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but you have to be really smart about how you use it. And one of the ways to be smart, I think, is just to talk to people a lot, and so we do a lot of research about what resonates with people. And it's amazing what the American public likes about Jesus is they see a value system that he represented, that he was somebody who was able to seek and make peace, that was welcoming, accepting, and loving to all. And those are 4 values that people want for themselves and their families and their neighbors, and they see those things in Jesus, whether they would call themselves Jesus followers or not. And so we're just trying to look at the commonality there, and then we find little pieces of life from American life, like the things that you were mentioning from the ball game, and then things from Jesus' life. We just keep putting those together and try to make Jesus somebody that is very relatable, because he went through all the same things that we're going through now.
Right. Because the truth is, I mean, it's sad, Jason, that we have to say this, but Jesus is relatable. It's not like he needs a PR campaign to do it. He is. It's just that we've screwed it up so badly. All of us, especially, it seems right now in this country. So I'm hearing from you, Jason, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're kind of trying to win the conversation back.
I think we're trying to restart a conversation. And, what we've found is that the first place to start is with respect. And so I think once people understand that you respect them as individuals, no matter who they are or what they've done, we have a spot called Dinner Party. And Jesus told a story about going out and inviting people who other people wouldn't invite to a party. Jesus spent a lot of his time hanging out with people that we can tend to try to avoid sometimes. And so he said, make a dinner party out of people that have they don't have anywhere else to go. And so everybody's welcome. Everybody's respected by him, no matter who they are or what they've done, and they can interact with him. And so respect and personal relevancy of Jesus is what we're focused on. And we feel like if we can start a relationship there and just be patient and allow God to work, that's a great spiritual journey for someone to be on.
Yeah, I mean, allowing God to work. And what I love about it, again, we'll go back to the ballpark because that's where we saw this, just the other day. It's a gigantic ad, and it's almost, Jason, it's a wink. It's fun. It's lighthearted. You're not, shouting fire and brimstone at someone, and hell is coming. And there's an invitation to have that conversation online, right? You say, come online, and people are willing to have this a little deeper.
Yeah, it lists the website right there, hegetsus.com, and people, if they want to chat, they can text for prayer or positive vibes, whichever they're really looking for at the moment, however they think of it. They can get connected with somebody. Maybe they want to have coffee and say, hey, I saw this banner about Jesus. Like, I think it was about Jesus. And a lot of times it's just kind of surprise or pleasant surprise. But we let the receiver really determine how they want to engage. We just try to make it available to them and then let them take it from there.
Fabulous.
So it's one thing seeing it at home, if it goes across my computer screen or whatever. But we were in the ballpark this week, and we heard real life conversation about it, which is really what you're looking for, right? And so, John, you heard it first because you were at the ballgame the other night.
Yeah, I went with a guy, and he's not a believer. And, of course, there it is through the entirety of the inning. And he saw that, and he said to me, well, that makes me uncomfortable to see that. And so it opened a conversation because he's a good buddy of mine. But anytime we bring up faith, he gets so resistant. He immediately goes into defensive mode. Hey, don't try to evangelize me. And I said, John, I'm just talking about grace. I'm just talking about forgiveness here. So I love that there's a little wink and a nod, and it was a softer conversation. But some people, no matter who they are, there's going to be pushback, Jace.
There is. And I sometimes I liken it to people are in a store. People like your friend, they're in a store, they're shopping, it's really enjoyable. And I think sometimes the Christian is that salesperson who's a little bit bothersome, trying to get them interested in things that they're not. And so what we try to do is just set up the store to serve the shopper, to serve the person who's not quite sure about faith. And a lot of times people are saying now, if I want to learn more about Jesus, I could just Google him. I don't need you shouting at me or trying to convince me or persuade me. And so that's what we're trying to do is, like your friend, they're in control. It's their journey. It's their life. But to be available to them so that when they do want to talk about something or they do want to look for information, there's something available to them. But it's their life, and they're in control of it.
Jason, yesterday I was at the ballpark, and I was sitting behind three men who were probably in their
60s.
Their 60s, yeah. And, they're, generally crotchety in their approach.
But they were good guys.
They were good guys, but they were just sitting there watching the game. And so during the inning, the He Gets Us, comes up, and the message. And one of the guys says, but there's some Jesus thing in the outfield. And the other guy says, well, it's better than 90% of what comes across my computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, now, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right? So it's definitely broaching a Jesus conversation that's not just about Jesus, but is also about how the kinds of messages that come at us.
The culture as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing for your listeners to know that it's a campaign that on the surface, it just has messages like that, like Jesus still believes with 2 outs in the ninth, or Jesus forgives errors. What's behind it is just trying to the Jesus that we understand from the Bible, just trying to make him relevant in our lives. There's nothing else behind it. Not trying to convert anybody. There's no particular denomination. It's just trying to start those conversations. And so people that have been following Jesus for a while, when they're at the ballpark or watching a game or just at other places in the community, it pops up all over TV and online, just to be ready to have that conversation with somebody who goes, is that a Jesus ad? And what do they mean by that? And as a Jesus follower, if you can be ready to carry on a conversation when somebody's interested, that just can be a great opportunity to share your faith with them.
Excellent. So it's hegetsus.com. Yeah, Jason?
Hegetsus.com.
Nice. I mean, seriously, it's a really good job.
I love it. I love anything that can help a good conversation get started. And to me, this is the essence of it.
Thanks, Jason. Really good stuff.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Kathy.
Our pleasure. Jason Vanderground. He Gets Us. Hegetsus.com. You'll see it all over the place. Kath and I were fortunate to see in billboards at PNC Park this past week. It's super cool, and invites further conversation and inquiry about Jesus Christ.
When it comes to higher education, it's worth considering a Christian university or college, one that reaffirms students' faith instead of tearing it down. Research shows that students who attend a Christian college can become significantly more committed to their faith, and that's an important investment to make. You care about the type of people who are teaching the classes and about the content of the courses just as much as you do about the strength of the academics. It matters that Christian faith is supported and shared. Find out about many schools at once by attending the free Christian College Fair with representatives of colleges and universities from across North America. Start planning now. Take advantage of the opportunity to meet with representatives from top Christian colleges throughout the country. Learn about financial aid, scholarship opportunities, and more. Take your first step to a Christian college education at Orchard Hill Church in Wexford, Saturday, September 24th from 11 to 1. That's the Pittsburgh Christian College Fair, Saturday, September 24th at Orchard Hill Church in Wexford from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. More at findyourchristiancollege.com.
You ever see those really amazing videos of salmon swimming upstream? There they are, these beautiful fish literally flying through the air against hard currents on their way to live for the next generation. And life can feel like that sometimes, right? We're all swimming upstream against harsh odds to live another day. And so, in this downturn, these really weird economic times, a cash-out refinance may be the breathing room you need to lighten your load. With newfound money, a cash-out refinance from United Faith Mortgage can help you pay off some debt and give you some money to set aside for a better financial shape. The Faith and Family Mortgage team at United Faith Mortgage will help you untangle any questions or any anxiety about the process. The small team with the big backing makes United Faith Mortgage the preferred mortgage provider here at Word FM.
United Mortgage Corp, Melville, New York. NMLS number 1330. Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities. Mortgage lender license 22672.
Smart businesses are always looking for ways to improve. Better work days can start with Cintas. Your dedicated Cintas service reps help make sure you have what you need when you need it. We'll stock your essential cleaning products, deliver hygienically clean workwear, inspect your fire extinguishers, and provide first aid and safety supplies. Cintas is with you every step of the way, so you stay a step ahead. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Ask Alexa to play the word Pittsburgh to hear us there. We're on your Google speaker too, plus iHeart, TuneIn, and on Odyssey. 101.5 WORD-FM, Pittsburgh.
There are a ton of social networking websites, but one stands apart for a very special reason. This one saves lives. It's MatchingDonors.com. MatchingDonors.com links organ donors with people in need of kidney and other transplants. In the U.S., 22 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant, most of them for kidneys. If you've ever considered becoming a living organ donor, or if you are someone in need of an organ transplant, visit MatchingDonors.com, home of the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. Visit MatchingDonors.com or call 601-402-9138.
Increasing cloudiness tonight. We'll see a shower in spots towards dawn. We'll reach a nighttime low of 59. Humid tomorrow with variable cloudiness. Expect a morning shower in spots, then a heavy thunderstorm late in the afternoon, high 83. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night. A heavy thunderstorm around in the evening, followed by a couple of showers late. The low 61. A passing shower Thursday morning, otherwise breezy and cooler with partly sunny skies. The high only 65. I'm AccuWeather's Drew Shannon.
Does this make sense?
Does what make sense?
Bisquick.
Bisquick. Oh. No, I'm not a cook, as you all know.
Or a baker.
No. But I believe it's been a shortcut for a lot of people, right? Like, I remember my mom used to make pot pies with a crust all around. I do believe that...
A Bisquick crust?
Yeah.
Did it make sense then?
Made perfect sense, because there's nothing like a pot pie with a crust, is there?
Right.
Yeah, I'd say Bisquick makes sense. It doesn't make sense to you?
No, it does not make sense, John.
Why?
In fact, in thinking about Bisquick today to prepare for this exact segment that we're in the middle of, I had to look it up to see what was in it.
Oh, no.
It's a combination of flour, baking powder, salt, shortening. It just seems like you could just buy those things.
Well, there's something about it, though. That is, it's kind of a shortcut,
it's
right?
It's pre-mixed.
It's
Bisquick.
Yeah.
It's
biscuits quick.
Right. Flour, shortening, salt, sugar, and baking powder.
Yeah. So instead of from scratch, what is it that makes the shortcut?
It's all mixed together.
And then you add water
and it's
egg?
dry shortening. That can't. I mean, I feel like.
Have you ever used it?
No. Well, as a kid, I used it all the time because that's the only. My mother never baked.
Yeah.
That's all it was. So if we were baking anything, pancakes. But why would? So now I ate a lot of pancakes that had shortening in it. I don't think that's really necessary.
Well, I'm saying yes, Bisquick makes sense.
Okay, and I'm saying I don't think it does, John. I think perhaps it's outlived its usefulness.
I think maybe you should try to revisit it.
I don't know. I'll see.
All right, the aforementioned vacation, which I've just come back from, plenty of time sitting at Oceanside, and I'm thinking about tides. Do tides make sense?
That's crazy.
It's fabulous.
I can't believe it's a real thing.
It's a definitely real thing. So the local monthly newspaper that this village has the daily tides. And what's shocking is, for me, not knowing about the tides, I think, well, there'd be a few minutes difference on either side, like sunset and sunrise.
Right. It's kind of like, a general thing we're shooting for.
It's not. It's all over the map. One day that, the tide would come in, the early tide at 10 o'clock. The next day, the tide would be noon or 12:30. I mean, deep variations often in high tide and low tide from day to day. So they don't make sense to me, but of course it does make sense because it's God's creation and it controls the ebb and flow of this world.
But can you believe the moon is controlling that?
Yes.
It's great. That doesn't make sense.
The tides make sense because they keep us regular in an irregular world. Now, Bisquick, that's all the story.
Doesn't make sense.
101.5 WORD.
You're listening now, so we know you're a fan of the radio station.
I am a big fan.
And we want you to know that we appreciate you.
I am your number one fan.
That's why we've developed the Word FM Fan Club. It's free to join, and once you do, you can take part in exclusive surveys and contests.
Yeah, I love contests.
Special offers.
Great giveaways.
Discounts. Freebies.
I'd like to win one of these contests.
Become a member today. Go to wordfm.com/fan club and sign up.
We're big fans.
It's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our health care. No doubt. This is why so many people are joining Medi-Share right now. Medi-Share is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly healthcare costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. Medi-Share can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. And Medi-Share is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that's worked beautifully for 29 years. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
International travel is open again. So now is the perfect time for that trip to Israel, the trip of a lifetime. A trip to the Holy Land will bring you face to face with one of the most fascinating countries on earth. More than just a vacation, this meaningful trip is your opportunity to enjoy the freedom to travel again, walking the ancient streets of Jerusalem where Jesus walked, sailing the Sea of Galilee, and floating in the mineral-rich Dead Sea with its healing and rejuvenating power. Sebastian Gorka and Dinesh D'Souza, along with our trusted travel partner, Inspiration Cruises and Tours, personally invite you to experience Israel with them this November. To book your trip to Israel, log on to standwithisraeltour.com. That's standwithisraeltour.com. Then call 855-565-5519 to secure your spot. Call today, 855-565-5519.
Maybe you're an elder in a local congregation or a deacon wanting to serve your church more faithfully.
Dr. Barry York on the Master of Theological Studies program at RPTS.
The wonderful thing about the MTS degree is you can actually do it all online. So they can take the degree online and grow in that theological ability that will allow them to either teach or work more faithfully in their local congregation.
Learn more about the MTS degree program and flexible online options at rpts.edu.
The following interview was originally broadcast at an earlier date.
Kathy, you have 2 daughters?
I sure do.
I have 2 sons. All 4 of those children of ours are of dating age, right?
Yes.
Our producer, Christy, she herself is of dating age. For the life of me, I cannot imagine what it must be like to date today. You and I grew up in a different era. Mm-hmm. Not to say that we're ancient, but times have changed tremendously.
For sure. The internet has changed,
so.
You name it.
Kate Warman is with us. Kate is the host of the Heart of Dating podcast and the author of Thank You for Rejecting Me, Transforming Pain into Purpose and Learn to Fight for Yourself. She joins us now to talk about dating during this really weird era. Kate, thanks for being with us here today.
Hey, John and Kathy. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk about my favorite subject.
Okay, so Kate, talk about, are you being facetious or do you mean it when you say it's your favorite subject?
I really mean it. It's my favorite subject. I love it. You know, our divorce rate is so high these days. I believe the only way we can change that is by having healthier, better dating out there.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right about that. I'm sure you're right. Okay, so I've been married for 29 years. And I got married young. And so I remember clearly what dating was like when I was dating. But it's funny, I've kind of lost track of what's it like now out there, I guess is the question I'm trying to ask.
Well, in the age of COVID and all the things, it is different, okay?
Yeah.
It is. I mean, can you guys even name right now any dating apps? I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't want to say it on air.
Wait, yeah, right. Tinder is the only one I can think of. Is that a dating app?
There we go.
I don't know if that's really, I don't even call it dating.
The biggest dating app in the world, actually, but it's also known as a hookup app. But everyone is meeting online these days, which is probably very different from 29 years ago. Yep. In fact, post-COVID, over 50% of people, you guys, meet online. So the world is changing. And then you add in social media. Well, people are now not only meeting on dating apps, but also through social media. I recently know tons of people that have met through TikTok, for example, and are now getting married.
Really? What?
Yes, this is real.
Kate, how does that even work? I mean, to me, this is not my my time frame here, but TikTok to me is like cat videos.
There are cat videos out there. So a friend of mine just actually met a guy from TikTok. They actually got married last month in Greece. Okay, this is happening all over the place. He did not do TikTok video or cat videos, but his videos on TikTok were hilarious.
Interesting. Okay, so this age that we're living in, I mean, the old ways were, you knew somebody, you met somebody in class or a friend of a friend. Now,
or you went to a bar and saw them in person.
Right. Now people are just swiping from one side to another. It feels like, the idea of a meat market is
like
gone beyond it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a commodity.
It is. It can become very consumeristic if you're not careful with how you do dating these days, because guess what? We're all behind a screen most of the time now dating. So what you guys are talking about is actually, in my opinion, better in ways because we were way more personal and people didn't fear rejection as much because you just went up to somebody and you were used to doing that in real time. But now we're stuck behind a screen and it's way easier to not put yourself out there or avoid hard conversations by everyone's favorite term, ghosting them.
So you become friends with someone or you date someone and then all of a sudden people disappear. That's ghosting.
Yeah, ghosting is basically when you've gone on a date with somebody and you think it went really well, but maybe they didn't actually think it went well or they don't want to see you again. And instead of telling you they don't want to see you anymore, they just ghost you,
They
aka they disappear like a ghost into thin air, and you never hear from them again.
All right. So, Kate, obviously, as you came in, you said this is a favorite topic of yours. So you are a proponent. I mean, there is some power, there is some positivity in your connection here, in your message about dating in the 21st century, especially Christians.
Yes, exactly. And I believe that as Christians, which are the majority of people I serve in the area of dating, I believe, and this is what my favorite line is to say in terms of dating, in a world where it is so easy to ghost people, it's so easy to avoid hard conversations, what does it look like, especially as a Christian, to have the goal of dating with joy and integrity and ultimately leaving people better than we found them? Because you don't have to end up with every person you date, right? But dating becomes horrible, monotonous when you have these heartbreaking situations like ghosting or not communicating clearly, right? And then you just are like, what is happening? And so what does it look like to date with joy and integrity and leave people better than we found them? And I believe, and that's what I'm passionate about helping people to do, and I believe it's possible.
Look for the book, Thank You for Rejecting Me, Transform Pain into Purpose and Learn to Fight for Yourself. We're talking to author Kate Worman, who's also the host of the Heart of Dating podcast. Kate, every time we talk about dating with our kids, my husband and I come at it from such opposing viewpoints. And not that we don't like each other's viewpoint. I just envy his viewpoint, because I remember when we first met, I felt I hated dating. I used to say that all the time. I hate dating because I felt like I was always on the verge of hurting someone's feelings, or I was on the verge of having my feelings hurt. And my husband just looked at it as this fun adventure. Like it was just going to be, let's go out, let's see what that's like. This could be a horrible experience and it's going to be a great story, or I'll meet someone and maybe, like, he was so fine about it with no emotional entanglement and just, happy to do it. I was a nervous wreck the whole time. Are both of those sides familiar to you?
Yes, absolutely. I used to be way more like you, and I actually became, through time, way more like your husband.
Interesting.
Actually. Yeah.
And do you feel more healthy being that way? It seems like it would be better.
It is, because the thing is, when we are putting so much pressure on dating, or when we give the other person we're dating so much power, it becomes a very pressure-filled process where we are like, here's my heart, will you take care of it? Yeah. But what we should really be doing, and it's like, I'm like trembling. I'm like, oh, will you take care of it, right? Like, that's the process.
Yeah.
And so, but the reality is, and from being married, like, no one human person can take care of every single one of our needs, and so there has to be a way that we approach dating knowing that heartbreak, rejection is a part of the process, and that we can only do our best to be discerning, to know what we're looking for, to trust ourselves in that process. But love is always going to be a risk. But also within that, like, you have to go into dating knowing your worth and value, irregardless of if this person wants to see you again. Like, you have to know.
Yeah, that's really good.
I'm still interested, even if they're not interested. And so I think that's also the part of the game changer in approaching dating without so much pressure.
Right. Okay, but Kate, what about this? I mean, you would think that especially in Christendom, a large majority of younger women are looking for, marriage, where, and guys, just being guys, they're using the dating thing just to hook up. There's a big gulf there.
You're right. There are people. I tend to avoid the gender stereotypes because I see it in both sides. But here's the thing. For the ladies, I want to call out the ladies because I actually think we need to help both ladies and guys, right? I think the ladies need to actually take a deep breath and stop putting so much pressure on the man on a first date to figure out if this is the man I'm going to marry. I need to figure out how to picture my first, I'm already sitting there trying to picture my first name with his last name. I'm asking him all these questions, figuring out his 401k. Would he be a good father of my children? Yeah. We got to calm down.
That's really good. Okay, so, and again, we're talking to Kate Worman. She's the host of the Heart of Dating podcast. Kate, what do you feel like is the biggest pitfall? Like, I'm sure there are good and bad things about dating the way it is right now versus pre-internet dating, which is what John and I did. Not when we were dating each other, but when we were meeting our respective spouses. So what are the good and bad things about how it's done today?
So I think the good thing is today that what a gift that technology is, that it's not just we marry the person down the street or the person in our vicinity, but we have access to meeting people all across the country. I'm actually now engaged, and the way I met my fiance was on a Zoom call, and he lived in Seattle, okay?
Really?
So I would have virtually never met him if it wasn't for technology. So that's a beautiful part of, I feel, dating these days, is we have so much more potential of people that we could get connected with. The downside of it is, like I said, I find it sometimes it can be very impersonal, and it's very easy to be selfish with communication because you can just hide behind a screen and you can treat somebody as subhuman if you don't have the perspective, like I said earlier, of leaving people better than you found them. Because if that's your goal, then you're not going to ghost someone. You're going to have a hard conversation, you know?
Right. Okay, because it is such a numbers game. I mean, if somebody just wanted to, they could date somebody new every day of the week if they wanted to, right? And so, in your own life, and I think you're offering people advice at your podcast. Say you meet someone and you go on a date and you kind of go, okay, well, I mean, I'm not sure about his 401k, but it felt pretty relaxed here. I think I might go on date 2, and then date 2. Well, that was kind of fun. I do date 3 or 4 or 5. And then, this may have some legs here. There's a possibility that we might, go further with this. At what point is there, for both parties, you kind of go, okay, I've seen you 6 or 7 times. I've got lots of opportunities around me, but I think I'm going to narrow this field down tremendously. And I'm going to say, we're exclusive. Is there like a wisdom line where you go, we weren't exclusive to where we are exclusive?
There's not a one-size-fits-all process, but what I recommend is see someone over the period of 60 to 90 days. Get to really know someone and start building trust. And within the trust, then you can see if you can rely on somebody. If you genuinely know someone, trust them to an extent, and can rely on them, then you can add in the commitment factor, which to me should be roughly around 60 to 90 days.
But, okay, when you say trust someone, describe, what does trust look like in the dating environment?
Yeah, and I think that's individualized. Like, can you actually... are you willing to share your needs with them, and how do they handle that? Are you willing to be vulnerable with them to an extent, and how do they handle your vulnerability? And so are they a person of their word? If they say they're going to be here or make a date with you at this time, do they show up with you for you? And do they actually have it planned? Like, are they a person of their word?
Okay, that's good. All right, so what about, like the old days where there was the matchmakers? I mean, I know that if you wanted to spend money, people could go to the heart of the matter and have not a stud of Bubba, but, a more, sort of a smaller, narrower search of, I'm not trying to be snobbish here, but a higher level of a candidate who might be acceptable.
Higher level of a candidate.
You know what I'm saying,
like
right? I mean, right? Everybody wants to increase their odds. You kind of think, this guy's not a loser. I've got a shot at somebody.
Yeah. Well, matchmaking is still a great tool out there. You just are going to spend a lot of money to make it happen. Here's my favorite modern day way to matchmake is ask people to be set up. Because if you are asking for setups by somebody you know and genuinely trust, then that's probably a great opportunity. They may know someone awesome. But here's the thing with setup. My last piece of advice with setups, don't just make the ask, make sure you follow up with the ask. Because if it's your priority to date, it's not their priority to find you somebody. So you need to follow up with that person. If they said, oh yeah, I'll think about it, or I might have someone in mind, follow up with them. That's the only way. I have had so many setups in my life because I not only asked for them, but then followed up with them.
That's good.
That's good.
Oh, so it's not what you know, it's who you know. There's the adage again, is it not?
Changed.
Right? Yeah.
Kate, it was super fun to meet you. Thanks for being here today.
That's good.
Thank you, John and Kathy. This is so fun.
Yeah, the pleasure's been ours. Listen, this is cool. Kate Warman, she is the host of the Heart of Dating podcast. Check that out. And her book, Thank You for Rejecting Me, Transform Pain into Purpose and Learn to Fight for Yourself. Go, Kate. Very nice.
The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and help you save time and money down the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Train up a child in the way they should go. Well, you know the rest. It's a calling you take very seriously as a Christian parent. And Trinity Christian School in Forest Hills seeks to honor your commitment by working together with parents to prepare students who are academically sound and spiritually ready to take their place in the world through a classical approach to education that helps build a faith from which they will never depart. Trinity Christian School, one of the top K-12 schools in Allegheny County at trinitychristian.net.
Bachman's Roofing and Solar is your local award-winning roofer. Stop waiting. It's time to inspect your roof and protect your home's #1 asset. With no interest and no payment financing for 12 months, Bachman's Roofing is your easy choice for roofing, gutters, and solar. Did you know Bachman's Roofing is one of the #1 GAF solar integrated roofing installers in the USA? Go with Bachman's. Go with solar and install the roof that pays for itself. Call 412-744-8390 or visit bachmansroofing.com.
Meet Brad. Brad's hard at work, or at least his website is. Ever since he added live chat with Salem Surround, Brad's customers are getting their questions answered 24/7. Website purchases have gone up 35%, and they're over 3 times more likely to buy from him again. No bots, just real people helping real people. Live chat, one of the easiest, most affordable ways Salem Surround can increase your business while you do other things, or nothing at all. Ask us how at surroundpittsburgh.com.
I did a site visit and the space is absolutely incredible.
Este's Reiki Clinic is opening another studio across town.
But there's a lot to wrap up.
But staffing an entire office requires more than just deep breathing.
Receptionist and at least 4 new practitioners.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for a second income? A great way to give back to your community? Consider NAMS Transportation, providing safe transportation to Northern Allegheny and Pittsburgh seniors for over 40 years, offering flexible day, evening, and weekend schedules. Perfect for retirees. Van drivers start at $17 an hour. Sedan drivers at $14 an hour. Plus, part-time drivers get a $2,000 signing bonus. Must be 25 or older. No CDL required. Call 412-406-8611 today.
We are everywhere on your radio at 101.5 WORD FM Pittsburgh, at wordfm.com, the Word FM mobile app, iHeart, TuneIn, and Odyssey.
We were talking at the beginning of the show about yesterday's funeral for the Queen and how I can't imagine, of course, God can do anything. We will not see the likes of that as a proclamation of the gospel of Jesus Christ worldwide. I don't know when we'll see that again. And the only reason we did see it, of course, which is the major reason, is because Queen Elizabeth herself was a devout believer. And so she, along with her staff, I'm sure many years ago, put together this service. And it showed the Queen as the woman, as a lover of God, as a lover of Jesus and the Holy Spirit. I mean, one of the things, I think it was the Bishop of Canterbury, said that the Queen, Elizabeth, had an uncomplicated and profound Christian faith. That's a wonderful thing to say about someone, isn't it not?
Oh, my gosh.
It's uncomplicated and profound Christian faith.
I like the uncomplicated part.
Yes. A lot of people make it very complicated. Of course, you can.
We all make it complicated, right? Yeah, in watching it, I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect that. I expected that nobody does the pomp and majesty of anything like the Brits do.
Right.
They have got it down. So I expected that I would see that. And I had already seen the procession of the casket going from the palace down
to Westminster Abbey,
to Westminster Hall, where it was going to lie in state. And that was very, very beautiful and stately. But watching the service and just the Jesus-centeredness of it was so shocking to me. I mean, of course, our heads of state are not the heads of the church, so it's different here.
But the Queen was.
Wow.
So, and I meant to read about this because I know nothing about this, so excuse my ignorance, but I need to talk about it anyway. The orb.
Yeah.
With the cross. I mean, that's like something out of a science
Middle
fiction.
Ages.
It's this beautiful and intriguing. I mean, it's shocking. Again, this round edifice with the cross on top.
That says that you're the head of the Church of England. I mean, there's a lot wrong with the church and the state being that aligned. A lot. Most things.
Undoubtedly.
Most things, in my opinion, are wrong about that.
But she doesn't have the power, but she does.
Well, she does. Yeah.
That's the weird.
I mean, going back and looking at the different rulers of England,
they did. But much less.
Much
so
less now. And yet you still are. You're still the head of the church. I don't know. Anyway, without commenting on that, because I just don't know enough to be able to talk in any way that would be helpful to anybody about that, I can say that as a person, if that was a funeral that I went to of anybody that I knew, and just not the pomp and I hate to say circumstance of it, but the pageantry of it, without that, just the readings and the music and everything, I would have been every bit as touched as I was because she was the Queen of England. It was an absolutely God-centered 58 minutes. Mm-hmm. And it was 58 minutes because at her father's coronation, when she was 8 years old, she was so bored that she said when she was playing the funeral, this will not be more than an hour because I am not going to have people sit there and do this for longer than an
so
hour.
you saw the funeral at Westminster Abbey.
Yes.
And then they took the hearse, or they took the casket, and they moved through the streets of London. And then I saw that.
How about the Royal Navy pulling it? Was that beautiful? And,
everything.
And
then what I loved was that long march up the hill to the castle. Up
and
to
that's
Windsor.
that's the part. Once I saw them get to the castle, and then I didn't see the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. I saw what was happening, and I was like, this is going to unfold in some magisterial way, and I can't miss it. So I needed to take a shower. So I ran upstairs quickly, took a shower while they started the long walk up the hill. And by the time my shower was done and I was over, I came back. They were still walking slowly up the hill. I just... God works in incredible ways. That gospel was heard yesterday.
It certainly was proclaimed
worldwide,
yesterday. Yeah.
By how many people?
It was.
And so just as we're having this conversation, my guess is people went to bed last night thinking about the God of the universe, about Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit and the Father. And there were many questions.
I hope so.
That were left unanswered that will find their way into the hearts and minds of women and men around the world. I truly believe that.
For me, the highlight of the service was the reading of 1 Corinthians 15, which was done absolutely so beautifully by the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, I think. She did such a fabulous job. If you're listening to us talk about this and you are wondering what the gospel is, check out 1 Corinthians 13. You can find it in your Bible.
With John and Kathy, a production of Salem Media Group.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. With the death of Queen Elizabeth II, the United Kingdom and the world have lost a very unique leader. Contrary to the media narrative, it wasn't the Queen's dignity or devotion to duty or compassion or wisdom that set her apart. Those other attributes were only signs of the central quality that made her so special, her devotion to Christianity. Queen Elizabeth was head of the Church of England and defender of the faith in fact as well as in name. And she understood that to lead truly was to serve. When she was anointed at her coronation, she believed she was set apart as God's servant on earth, and she behaved accordingly. What a different, better world it would be if all leaders held themselves strictly accountable to Christ as she